With a box that's longer than the opening crawl in a Star Wars movie, this Xiaomi 17 Pro is definitely the most powerful, the most capable Android smartphone in the world. For at least another week. Inside the box, we have a 100-watt charging brick, a USB-C cable, and even an included transparently clear plastic case. And you might be like, hey Jerry, that looks suspiciously like an iPhone 17 Pro. And you're right, but there's a twist. Instead of a camera plateau, there's a display that I can swipe from the left to activate the cameras on. Wait, no, sorry, that's not me. Hold on. Oh, okay. I can swipe from the left to activate the cameras, and use the rear cameras to take my selfies. There's a super wide-angle 50-megapixel camera that wasn't cool enough for a spot on the plateau, then the regular main 50-megapixel camera up top, and a 50-megapixel 5x telephoto camera right below that, between the other two lenses. But honestly, the coolest part is the cute little interactive animal friends that can also live on the plateau. He's so cute and fluffy, and I really hope he makes it. Xiaomi has debuted a new glass material called Dragon Crystal, or Xiaomi Shield 3.0, which apparently they pour and manufacture in-house. It's under a pre-installed screen protector, of course. We've never tested this Dragon Crystal yet, and I'm surprisingly surprised that my level 6 scratches do not appear on the surface. Level 7 does show up, albeit barely, so I don't think it's quite as good as Corning's Ceramic Shield 2 that Apple's using on the iPhone 17 Pro, but Dragon Crystal is definitely better than any other Android phone we've seen yet. Xiaomi's cooking. And if Xiaomi's watching this, I would love to come see how the glass is manufactured. Leave a thumbs up if you want a glass factory tour. There's a hole punch 50-megapixel selfie camera, also protected by the same Xiaomi Shield 3.0. It's sitting right below a thin earpiece slit that's nestled up against the aluminum frame of the phone. But seriously, the star of the show on the Xiaomi 17 Pro is the rear display. It's 2.7 inches, and the interactiveness of the bird is such a quirky, fun little gimmick, and we haven't seen something this outlandish in a really long time. I'm a huge fan of Xiaomi doing something new here. On this back display, we do see scratches at a level 6 with deeper grooves at a level 7, so Xiaomi's definitely just using regular tempered glass back here and not their latest Dragon glass. This guy makes me so happy. You know what else makes me happy? Oreo cookies, but I'm trying to eat healthier lately, which is kind of unfortunate. The anodized aluminum buttons of the 17 Pro are not removable. I am a fan of this green color though. The top of the phone has dual plastic antenna lines. The left side is empty, just like the iPhone 17 Pros, and the bottom of the phone has our SIM card tray, 100-watt USB-C port, and our lower stereo loudspeaker. The SIM card tray does have a black rubber ring around the opening, which helps the IP68 water resistance rating. When I initially held this phone, I just kind of assumed the flagship was sporting soft touch glass on the back, but it turns out plastic. This is perfect though, because now we can make it look even more like an iPhone 17 Pro than it already does. There's nothing wrong with plastic on a flagship, by the way. I almost prefer plastic, since it's not going to crack or break like glass inevitably will. I think I nailed it. No one's gonna know. The upper main 50-megapixel camera is protected with glass, same as the telephoto. Even the 50-megapixel wide-angle camera down here, below the cliff, is protected with glass. The dual-tone LED flash is covered with plastic. One thing that shockingly nobody has talked about yet is the 12-bit display. 12 bits means it can display more than 68 billion colors. For reference, the iPhone 17 Pro can only display 1 billion, and the latest Samsung S25 Ultra can only display 16 million. It's an 8-bit display instead of 12. This Xiaomi 17 Pro blows every other smartphone out of the water when it comes to how many colors it can produce, and even after 25 seconds from the heat from my lighter, it remains undamaged. There is an ultrasonic underscreen fingerprint scanner, but since the glass hardly scratches in the first place, it obviously works just fine before and after the extra abuse. The real reason we're here, of course, is to see if this king of all smartphones, for this week at least, is structurally sound. Bending from the back, it does look like Xiaomi is also copying Apple's rigidness, since there is no flex, bends, or creaks or cracks. And bending from the front, we get our subtlest of flexes, but the Xiaomi 17 Pro remains intact. The 17 Pro survives my durability test, which means we're going to have to break it open manually to see the silicon carbon battery inside and the internal cooling system. It's got to be a little annoying to Apple that Xiaomi's impersonating their phone so heavily, but it's also got to be a little annoying to Xiaomi that I'm revealing all their secrets to the public. But you, my friend, yes, you listening right now, can keep your own secrets and identity safe with today's sponsor, Incogni. See, it's kind of lame, but sometimes legitimate companies that you give your information to go and sell your information to other companies or groups that then use your email and phone number for telemarketing scams, or your physical address for copious amounts of junk mail. Lucky for me, and you, Incogni's created a massive database of all of these dubious information resellers, and they can automatically go through and extract your personal information for you and keep it off the internet. For example, Incogni has personally saved me over 200 hours of work. Time is money, and I don't have time to go try to remove all my information myself. It took me less than 10 minutes to sign up for Incogni, and I saved about 5 weeks worth of work. Totally worth it. You can try Incogni risk-free for 30 days and get 60% off the annual plan with the link in the description. They can even do custom removals if you need your information removed from some obscure portion of the internet. The only way to keep the robots from calling is to have a robot on the defense. Incogni.com/jerryrig, and I appreciate their work. My work, however, is not yet complete. The back panel is off, but I've noticed one screw has already come loose without me even taking the screw out. So far, Apple does pay a little more attention to the details. I've never had a phone take itself apart for me before. It's all good though, we all have a few loose screws. And it is super cool, however, to see the rear display still functioning, even though it's not secured to the phone. I'll get the phone turned off and we can cross our fingers that our birdie friend will still be here after this is all over. I'll remove one large green Phillips head screw from the motherboard and unclip the rear screen ribbon cable, just like a little Lego. Then I can remove the 11 Phillips head screws that hold down the wireless charging coil over the battery terminals. This wireless charger might not have the magnets around the back to lock accessories in place, but it can charge at 50 watts, which is wild. That's faster than the iPhone can charge while it's plugged in. I'll unplug both of the battery terminals. The dual cells help the silicon carbon battery charge even faster. 100 watts while it's plugged in is kind of insane. The battery says that it's dangerous to dismantle all by yourself, but do not fear, the force is with me. If you lift up all 3 tabs, then pull the one on the top and the one on the bottom, eventually the battery will come out. It is still rather difficult though, and I think Xiaomi could lay off the adhesive a bit. You would also think that with a battery technology as cool as silicon carbon, that it would say silicon carbon somewhere on the battery. But it doesn't, at least not in English anyway. But here's a side-by-side view of the 3600 mAh Xiaomi 17 Pro battery versus the metal-encased 4252 mAh battery from the iPhone 17 Pro. Massive difference in capacity, minor difference in sizes. Very fun. With the battery gone, we can remove the 6 screws holding in the lower loudspeaker. The speaker housing does have a little trap door revealing the balls inside. The balls help the speaker sound bigger than it actually is. I'll unplug the 3 long extension ribbons and pull out the charging port board. This is the guy that can charge at 100 watts. It also has a red rubber ring around the opening to help with that water resistance. There's more waterproofing over the loudspeaker opening, and 2 smaller microphone gaskets sitting perpendicular to the bottom of the phone. The white hexagon water damage indicator sticker is near the SIM card tray opening, so Xiaomi can tell if your phone has ever been wet just by popping out that SIM card tray. The vibrator is in the lower right-hand corner, and it's half the size of the iPhone 17 Pro's vibrator. Size isn't everything, obviously, but the extra length the iPhone vibrator has does allow for more complex and haptic-style vibrative feedback. I'll get everything put back into place, since the goal here today is have the patient still be alive after we get him all reassembled. I'm missing my bird friend already. The motherboard has a few ribbon cables along the bottom, and 2 more screws on the left side holding it in place. Looking at the front-facing 50-megapixel selfie camera, we can see that it does not have any OIS. The upper earpiece and stereo loudspeaker is in a metal enclosure, which is different. Normally it's plastic, but this does have balls inside. I'll dump them out into my hand. They just keep coming, don't they? Anyway, now that we've spilled balls everywhere, the upper two cameras want to lift out with the motherboard, but the third, lower camera wants to stay in the phone frame. You can see the top 50 megapixel main camera does have OIS. Along with the 5x telephoto camera, it also has optical image stabilization. The main camera appears to be similarly sized to the iPhone 17 Pro, but the telephoto has a much smaller sensor. The back of the motherboard is where the thermal paste sits for the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5. It sheds its heat out through the large copper vapor chamber. The very small 50 megapixel wide-angle camera does not have any optical image stabilization, but from this angle you can see how big the copper vapor chamber actually is, especially when compared to the iPhone 17 Pro's vapor chamber that we saw during the teardown. Overall, I'm pretty impressed. The Xiaomi 17 Pro is far easier to take apart and reassemble than the iPhone 17 Pro, but the screen replacement on the Xiaomi will be much more difficult since it's not the first thing that comes off like it is on the iPhones. There are pros and cons to both designs, but with that rear screen plugged back in and the whole phone turned back on, our birdie friend is still alive and well, and that makes me happy. Make sure you get your personal data erased from the web with Incogni, link in the description, and thanks a ton for watching. I'll see you around.